Well, hello, Jonathan here again. Here's another, I guess you could call it a little tip maybe. It comes up a lot, practice, and lots of people have different views on it. Where we've probably all heard the 10,000 hour rule, and you've heard of people saying you should always be practicing things that you're not good at, is a very common one. But I think that you should also practice things that you can already do and that maybe you are fairly competent at them. But just as an exercise, you can still get a lot out of it. And what I mean is, if in this example, say, we're just going to pick some random groove, and it's something that I've played before and that I know how to play. It's not a new pattern and so on. So take something simple, like what can I do with that if I supposedly already know how to play it? Well, maybe I could be concentrating on getting a perfectly even backbeat every time, a rim shot. I want to get a rim shot every single time in the same spot, same volume, etc. So you'll be able to hear that, and it can be a little bit challenging with playing traditional grip. You'll notice guys tend to play back here if they're playing a big fat backbeat with traditional grip, because it does kind of make it a bit easier. So that's one example. Then you could look at ghost notes, adding them on having them or not having them. You're still playing the same groove. Fiddle around with the volume of your ghost notes. The general consensus, if you like, is that ghost notes should be as quiet as possible. That can work and does. But also, depending on the playing situation, you may need your ghost notes to be a little bit louder, or they'll be inaudible if you're playing in a noisy area. So there's that. Same with the hi-hat. How many different ways can you play the hi-hat on the same groove, or go through the different ways of playing the hi-hat? Play on the tip. Play on the shoulder on the top of the hi-hat. Play on the shoulder more on the side of the hi-hat. Play with it really tightly closed. Play with it a little bit open, sloshing. All the variations, and just listen to it and dial into all of those things. Because the other thing is, if you think about it, all of those things require some kind of adjustment to technique. I mean, if I were going to play on top of this hat, I would probably turn over more. But yeah, so allow those things to start to inform your technique as well. And just as with, in the previous video, I mentioned about sound. But that's what we're doing. We're making sound. So it's not always about, a new technique or a repetitive exercise in order to improve our technique. If you work on your sound and the drum singing, or how the cymbals sound in the mix and so on, all of that's going to inform your technique, hopefully in a way that's sort of right for you if you've started in the right place. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to play some random groove, try and settle in a bit, and I'm just going to make adjustments, either playing the hi-hat different ways, trying to get the backbeat even with no ghost notes, playing around with the dynamics of the bass drum, and we'll just see. There's a lot of things that you can get out of it without having to do a new lesson or learn something new or get some new pattern, or feel as though you're not doing anything if you're not taking on board some new piece of information. So let's just see. I'm going to just fiddle around with the hi-hat first. Yeah. What are we going to do? You get the idea. There's heaps in that. You know, trying to get an uneven sounding backbeat consistently. All of that means that you need to make these tiny little adjustments and things to produce the sound. So I think that's a good way to do it, and a musical way to do it. And it's a way to be practicing in a way that's beneficial, where you are still actually practicing something. You're not just going through the motions, playing some groove that you always play. You're actually inside it and looking at it and making all of these adjustments. So there's another one. Hopefully that's helpful. As usual, let me know in the comments. And I will respond if you have any questions or if there's an interesting comment. And sometimes I'll even make a video if you'd like me to clarify anything, or if you like these kinds of things, sort of tips or little lessons or demos, just let me know. Have a good one.